There's mud on the floor, desperate people trying to get through the door, although the room's already crowded. But I'll keep shining over you all, and with your wings entwining, you better face the fall and keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. And keep trying again. I'll keep shining over you all with your wings entwining. You better face the fall. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. Are you okay? I'm not that sure.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to coverage tonight of the second race, the 5th season of the UpperEdge Racing Baadteshop Superspeedway Series. Tonight, we bring you the Matt Muir Designs 165 at the high-banked 3-mile track known as iRacing Superspeedway. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of Adam Bossy, and Adam coming off the season opener last week, a wild one at Talladega Superspeedway. Here tonight, we get to stack them up maybe another couple rows deep. They're going to be using the apron here tonight. This is definitely a track that always seems to be a wild card place whenever we come here on the schedule. And bear in mind, later on this year, the championship's going to be decided. So what do these drivers have planned for us here tonight in this 55-lapper?
Well, you know, this isn't your grandfather's Superspeedway. This is iRacing Superspeedway, the most aggressive, the most fastest Superspeedway that we will see on the schedule. So you need to make sure that, you know, you go into this race just level-headed, know that there's probably going to be some mistakes in front of you, but know, too, that you have all the room in the world around this racetrack to try and avoid those mistakes and find yourself up in the front.
We've been to this racetrack in the past a total of 9 times. 8 different drivers have gone to victory lane. A lot of times it just comes down to being in the right place at the right time off of turn 4. Only one driver is a repeat winner at this racetrack, and he is in the field here tonight. He'll look to be the only three-peat winner here at iRacing Superspeedway. But one thing that we didn't see last week until the closing stages were drivers utilizing the option to go below that yellow line. It is not considered out of bounds in this series. Here at this racetrack, though, they're going to utilize it as soon as the green flag drops. On the front straightaway, there's a designated area there that kind of has the yellow horizontal lines indicating you can't go down there next to the wall. They'll utilize that. There's a huge apron runoff area on the back straightaway. They'll use the 3, 4, 5 lanes available down there. It'll be interesting to see, though, if they make those moves, how does it all mesh when you go up into turn 1? Because with these cars, the speeds they carry and the banking of this racetrack, normally the cars slide up about a half groove, maybe even a full groove in the center of the corner.
Yeah, you're gonna have to watch that as the race goes on because early on you're probably not gonna see a lot of guys willing to hold their position. If somebody's gonna slide up, they may be more willing to lift. But as we get late into the run here, we get close to that checkered flag, you're gonna see guys just throwing it in, hoping it sticks down where they want it to, and then you're gonna see a lot less give and take from these guys. So use it with caution, but the benefit here is you go to a Daytona or a Talladega and you go try to use that backstretch, you're going to run out of real estate pretty quick. Here, that real estate goes on for a long time.
Now, last week, the goal was clear. Season opener, everybody started at 0 points, so everybody wanted to go out and try and get that checkered flag. Now that we've got that one race under our belt, I think you'll see different drivers with different agendas now. Drivers that ran really, really well last week, like Matt Muir, Bronson Stafford, Andrew Siegel, our podium finishers from last week. They want to keep that consistency going. They want to get back to victory lane or at least come away with another top 5 run. Other drivers, though, some big names, did not get the performances they were looking for. They're mid-pack or rear of the overall point standings. So if you're a driver that's in that kind of predicament coming into tonight, do you maybe hang back a little bit here in the early going, or are you full on offense?
I think you need to be full on offense. This is maybe the best track to try and get full on offense because of all the different rooms that you can go drive into and have different success pretty much anywhere on this track. So, if you struggled last week, you put that behind you. You're at iRacing Superspeedway this week. Everything that happened last week shouldn't matter anymore to you. You want to go out there and get that checker flag.
John Poole III getting the pole position in the group qualifying that finished up about 5 minutes ago. Complete polar opposites of where he has started in these first 2 races. I think he started 20th last week at Talladega, starts up at the front with Carl Faust in that beautiful, shiny gold number 12, going to be joining him on the outside of the front row. These are 2 drivers that did not get the best of performances last week. No way indicative of how well they were running. It just was in the closing stages of the race, end up getting caught up in that last lap wreck and were not able to salvage the points that they were looking to. John Poole comes into this race 13th in overall point standings. Carl Faust comes into this race even further down the point standings. I believe he is somewhere in the 15th, 16th position. So for these 2 drivers here, good starting track position, but those guys at the rear of the field know that what we saw last week, the ability to be able to lock the bumpers, tandem, and move up through the field, they're not necessarily at a disadvantage, especially with all the room available to them here. Pace car going to make the left-hand turn onto pit road as we get ready to go racing here tonight. Chevrolet and Ford going to lead us down to the green, and we are underway here at iRacing Superspeedway. And already JP3 going to get stuck in the middle. Sebastian Miller, DJ Stagner going to leave him up on the top side there. And Miller's going to lead him into turn 1.
Yeah, you saw an early move there, going to the inside, moving that 32 kind of into that middle lane. The runs you're going to see here tonight are like nothing you have seen at a Daytona or a Talladega or even the newly configured Atlanta Superspeedway.
A couple of former winners at this racetrack up there inside of the top 5 here in the early going, heading into turn 3, the 31 of Dylan Poteet. He was, I believe, our most recent winner. No, I'm sorry. He was the next to last race winner here at this racetrack. And then also up there, I saw the 64 of DJ Stagner. He is the most recent winner. So the 2 drivers that went to victory lane at this racetrack 1 season ago, both up here at the front in the early going, trying to double down. Joy Robert Kenny as the first repeat winner of this racetrack.
Yeah, and one of my favorite parts about this racetrack, if you've never seen a race at iRacing Superspeedway, you can just get a sense for how fast these guys are going. But they have so much space. Look at all the different lanes that guys are picking from, all the different ways that they can pull up to a car in front of them using that draft. and then they go off into these turns. It's almost like watching Auto Club in its prime when on the restarts where everybody just goes 3, 4, 5 wide and they just fan all the way out.
We got 3 different lanes working here. Sebastian Miller with DJ Stagner on the bottom. Middle line is Joey Chapman. He's got the rookie Will Reichart behind him. And then up on the top side, Roberto Ramirez getting a good push from Cam Barnes. Another rookie. We ended up seeing quite a number of the rookie class do very well last week, running up inside the top 5, top 10. Expect to see the same here tonight, I believe.
I would say so as well. But if you're a rookie and you haven't run this racetrack before, Jacob Holm is one that comes to mind for me. You're going to have to spend some time trying to figure out how to race it because it doesn't race like a Daytona or a Talladega. It's its own animal in how the draft works here. Almost plays back almost to the tandem days that we used to see in NASCAR where you can see a lot of guys make a lot of good work just on their own.
Joey Chapman cleared himself from the middle line down in front of Sebastian Miller. Now he'll hug the yellow line there that normally in a series would be safety because you wouldn't have a driver ducking to your left down on that apron, but not here in this series. Looks like for the moment though, nobody venturing down there. Now the 67 of Reichart gonna get clear and he'll move down in front of Joey Chapman, who gets sent up the racetrack and hard into the wall. Big hit there for Joey Chapman, who was in the second position. I don't think anybody else hit him. That car darted back into traffic. Oh, well, maybe we do have a couple of drivers back there that might have gotten bits and pieces.
Yeah, it looked like Joey Chapman might have spun down back across the racetrack, but hard to tell who got into him there. It looked like a bright yellow car. Not sure who that might have been.
That thing just shot straight up to the wall as well. I don't know if he maybe got a bad bump. Maybe our old friend Gapwack came into play. That thing, it quickly, the trajectory, almost a 45-degree angle straight up into the outside wall, and he had just been cleared by Reichart for the top position. Looked like he was settling into the second spot. Car behind him, I believe, was the 64 of DJ Stagner. Correction, it was Sebastian Miller actually in the 83 that was the car behind him.
So I'm almost wondering here if Joey Chapman actually went to go to that middle groove, that second lane, and just in doing so, the car just got loose and a little touch of the bumper there and just nowhere to really go.
Take a look at it here, off of turn 2. Looks like he tried to clear himself up there in front of John Poole III, and visibly there it looked like he was clear, but there might have been a little bit of gap whack that took place there. Might have gotten hooked in the right rear quarter panel straight up into the wall, and that was a big hit for the 76 of Jacob Holm, who had nowhere to go.
Yeah, and that's one of the hardest things about this track is, we talk about how it's its own animal, but it almost takes on characteristics of so many different oval tracks that we see NASCAR go to. And one of those is almost like Bristol in that when you're in these corners, you really can't see what's going on until you get to the straightaway, and sometimes that's just a little bit too late.
Big hit there as well for the two-time champion Bronson Stafford, another former winner at this racetrack. Also with nowhere to be able to go, literally the 60 in his path, and there's just no reaction time with the speeds these drivers carry here at iRacing Superspeedway. Take another look at it here. Yeah, it just looks like maybe the left front of the 32 gets into the right rear of the 60. And Chapman, Holm, and Stafford all with damage, and this is maybe out of all the tracks we'll be going to this season, this is the one where you want to preserve the two faster pairs because, as you saw right there, there's not a lot of reaction time if something happens up ahead of you. And if you end up having late race cautions, you want to have those two faster pairs in the bank. I'm not necessarily certain with the hits we saw those three particular drivers take right there, if they'll be able to ride this out and save one of those faster pairs. They may have to use it here in the first 10 laps.
Yeah, you're probably going to end up using it, but Um, there's a lot to that. It might make you just take a back seat for the next 40 laps until we get about 10 to go here, and then you really start getting after it and think about kind of when your risk of using that fast repair becomes kind of minute.
Remember, too, this is going to be the longest racetrack we'll be at this season, 3 miles in length, so a little bit longer than Talladega, which is 2.66 miles. So if you are going to be a little bit off the pace with damage, it would take a little bit longer for the field to catch you and potentially put you a lap down. You may get a chance of a caution saving you, as you see here from the back of our HMR Tamarin pace car. Drivers fanning to left and right. That's the choose cone there on the front straightaway at the start-finish line. Drivers picking the respective lines they want to restart in as we've gotten the 1 to green signal.
And you notice that, at least from what I'm able to see right now, it looks like a lot of guys are going to that high side, not a lot of guys going to that low side there. You wonder if that has to be with, pushing up on the inside there, just getting a little tight on these restarts. You maybe want to be on that high side where you have all that real estate to just kind of run it out to the wall.
I feel like, too, we saw there in the beginning stages of this race, and we've seen it in the past when we've come here to this racetrack, the straightaways is where drivers are really able to lock those bumpers. With the movement that takes place through the corners, you can't really keep a super tight draft for fear of maybe hooking the driver you're trying to push in the left rear quarter panel. With that high line, I think it might be a little bit easier to line those bumpers back up on corner exit than it would be on the inside line. Inside line, I think, is the shorter way around the racetrack, more of the defensive line. Outside line, I think, really a little bit more offensive for drivers that are looking for the big run and the momentum shift on the straightaways.
Yeah, and you could almost kind of see it in that camera angle too. One of the reasons you really can't get up on somebody in these turns is there's a dip in the entry, just kind of like Dover, to where the car really wants to settle into the corner, but it can also be a really light spot for the car too.
Well, John Poole III, the pole sitter, and Carl Faust, who started on the outside of the front row, they'll rack it up and do it again. Andrew Siegel going to line up in the 3rd spot. And it looks like it's going to be the 67 of Will Reichart. That'll be to his outside. Green flag back in the air. Lap 7 it goes on the board. We'll see if these drivers now, having that one caution, maybe settle the adrenaline down a little bit. Maybe they'll a little bit more organized here and not quite as aggressive, trying to remember that it's a long race still here to the conclusion. Dylan Poteet not waiting, shooting the gap right up the middle. Yikes.
That was a big move by Poteet there, and you see now the 5 of Siegel's kind of all by himself on that low lane. He's going to drop back really quick.
Dylan Poteet getting up there to the back bumper of John Poole III. Carl Faust will clear himself across the nose of the 32, goes from the top all the way down to the bottom. JP3 will try and drag him back with the side draft on the right side.
Yeah, we're only, 8 laps, coming to 9 laps here, and we're really racy all throughout this pack, because we're about to see 5 wide at the stripe.
Yeah, it's wide enough to hold that, and they're going to test the limits. 5 wide for a brief moment, now 4 wide in a couple sections of the field. Look at Cam Barnes moving his way up in that 3rd lane. It looks like John Poole III just threw up his hands and said, all right, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm going to fade to the back here and kind of let this play out.
And we see somebody there that looks like Matthew Rodriguez going below that yellow line, completely legal, and it's worth the shot now. Try it early, see what you got later on down the line here.
Biggest thing when you make the move here on the back straightaway, you got a lot of time to be able to do it when you go down below that yellow line, but you better hope that you get that pass completed before you get over here to turn 3, because they don't have to let you back up. And with how we see the difference of the flat apron to the banking going into the corner, that is an abrupt transition.
Yeah, it definitely is, and you really have to get used to it. And so the more green flag laps we can run, as we see 4 wide here going off into turn 1, somebody on the apron, you really just need to get the repetition and the feel for it.
It might have been the 9 of Shane Tyrion that was testing the waters down there in the apron, but nobody else went down there with him. You're going to definitely need to have at least one other driver, if not two, to be able to make that pass down below the apron work. Looks like Andrew Siegel backing out there. I think there's a couple of drivers that aren't too happy seeing this 3 and 4 wide racing at the front. They want to keep those faster pairs intact. Siegel coming into this race third in points, so trying to preserve his high positioning in the standings.
Yeah, great finish last week for Siegel. And, you know, there's a little bit of two sides to every story because there in 10th, you see Matt Muir, who won last week, making a charge in the middle of this pack, trying to get up to the front and maybe go back to back.
Right behind the 56 of Blake Trawick, here we are on board with Matt Muir, the Matt Muir Designs Toyota Camry. Look at the movement of these cars here through the corner. And we talked with Matthew Rodriguez that we saw making a couple of moves there, and he said, you know, it's very difficult to wreck these cars. They stay pretty planted to the racing surface, but that doesn't mean that they're not affected by the air when you're in the middle of a 3-wide formation, as you saw right there, a little tail happy off turn 2 for the 56 of Trawick.
Yeah, you got to be really careful. Have some quick hands and make sure that your right foot is very sensitive to that throttle pedal when you're in a pack like this and you have this much aero movement.
Saw Matt Muir last year making his first start here in this series. Fast forward to this year, wins the season opener, and I don't know, with what we're seeing right now, I think the confidence level has definitely picked up for driver 72. Look at him moving up here to the third lane. Right behind him, Jacob Holm, who was involved in our only caution so far here tonight. Looks like he took on the faster pair, and that M&M's Ford Mustang looking pretty speedy there as well.
Yeah, it's coming alive, and both of the guys involved in that wreck there, Joey Chapman's back up in 5th, so these guys got their faster pairs, and Joey Chapman proving that, you know, one wreck doesn't define him. He's still back here battling for potential lead at some point.
Looking maybe to go 4 wide here into turn 3. Look at that bottom out you were talking about, that dip down into 3 as everybody's cars get a little unsettled and slide up the racetrack. Matthew Rodriguez was trying to get a 4th lane going there against the 7 of Cam Barnes and the 81 of Connor Holden. Looks like that's dissipated, so now it's 3 wide, about 2 rows deep up here at the front.
Shane Therian is just kind of moving through this pack with a lot of precision. You're seeing a lot of quick moves out of him. And right now he's just kind of stalled out on that top side. But if he gets another run, it's very interesting to watch how quick his moves are and how, you know, determined he is getting that car to where it needs to be.
Maybe looking for a little redemption from last week. Shane Therian was leading coming off of turn 4 on the final lap, got hooked in the left rear and spun out, crossed the line in the 12th position. So looking maybe to get back one that he was owed from the season opener.
Yeah, for sure. And unfortunately, a little bit of commentator's curse there started talking about him, and now he drops back to the tail end
it
of this.
Always happens. It always seems to happen.
I know, it's unfortunate, but I mean, these guys are putting on a show, a lot of close racing and a lot of aggressive moves for only being 14 laps through.
Now, we didn't see him last week. From what I understand, he hadn't yet received his pedals, but Mike Tellier there in that bright pink 97. High, wide, and handsome there with Blake Trawick trying to make a move up here to the front. Obviously, with not making the start last week, a little bit behind the 8-ball points-wise. Mike Tellier trying to maybe go to victory lane in what would be his first start on the season as, ooh, look at Connor Holden. Just enough room for a car to fit through there in a 5-wide move, now up to the back bumper of Tellier.
And look at the run that they're getting here. And Tellier goes way to the top, so Connor Holden kind of going to take that middle lane. You see Tellier almost maybe dropping back, maybe not liking it, but you're going to have to find some friends. It's still a super speedway in the sense that you can't do it all on your own, so you got to be out here looking for somebody to work with you.
Just as soon as we said hello, Kitty, we say goodbye, Kitty, as Tellier starts fading to the back. Joey Chapman, to your point, though, didn't take him long after that wreck to find his way right back up to where he was before he had the issue off of turn 2. Side by side with DJ Stagner for the race lead. He's got Carl Faust there helping push him. Dylan Poteet on the bottom with Stagner, and Steve Rada sitting right there. Third car on that inside line. He was a threat last week before getting involved in that last lap wreck.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot of comers and goers as this race keeps going on, but one thing's for sure, if you're Joey Chapman here, safest place to be for you right now is out in front of everybody else. And that way, if somebody's wrecking, you don't have to worry about trying to avoid it. You don't have to worry about trying to use that fast repair.
Talked about a driver that if they struggled last week, go full court press here tonight. Chapman would fit that criteria as he finished 28th in the 30-car field last week. And the guy out in front now, the 81 of Connor Holden, another driver who did not get the finish indicative of what he was able to do last week. He was up front for most of the night, but brought it home, one lap down in the 27th position. Another strong outing for him.
Yeah, he's been tearing it up across multiple leagues. A lot of Superspeedway leagues running, not iRacing Superspeedway, but a lot of Daytona this week for the Daytona races at NASCAR. And he's been tearing up all of them. So it's no surprise to see him back up here, maybe get some confidence as the week went on and put that finish last week behind him.
Still 3 and 4 wide in the middle of the pack. Somebody down there in the apron. That's Matt Rod again. I think he's trying to get some friends down there to run with him, saying, hey, let's try and figure out if this works or not, but nobody's biting.
So I'm hearing some chatter over the radio, too, about guys overheating, and that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. But if you're overheating at a big track like this, where you're going to be in a massive pack, maybe instead of using that yellow line to pass, maybe that's your place to go get fresh air as well.
Would also explain why we're seeing a lot of the field fanning out here, maybe trying to get some clean air to the nose, cool down that engine. It's going to make these drivers have to be a little pick and choosy as well of when they want to charge to the front and when they want to maybe hang back and cool those engines down. As another driver now making his way up here to the front, that John Andretti throwback, the 43 of John Peterson, another of our rookie class. I'm seeing actually quite a number of the yellow striped bumpers up here at the front. The 67 of Reichardt is still up here. Cam Barnes is still up here. This is a strong rookie class for sure. There's also Clint Spillman in the 88 making his way up just outside of the top 10. Last year, we ended up seeing Andrew Siegel in only 6 starts be able to take Rookie of the Year honors. I don't think it's going to be as much of a runaway here this season with the drivers we've got competing for that title.
No, this is going to be a really fun battle all season long for Rookie of the Years. We see 3 wide getting ready to go here for the lead. But there's not one rookie that I would maybe put a name on right now to say he's going to win it. I think we're going to have a tight battle all the way to the finish on this one.
Going to tempt fate with maybe another commentator's curse here. We went back green on lap 7. We have been able to stay clean and green for the last 11 laps. We've seen it before here in the past. Drivers have to utilize pit road strategy. I'm not exactly certain what the fuel window is for these drivers, but it might be time to start talking about that.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the biggest things here is you're going about 200 miles an hour around this racetrack. So getting your car slowed down enough to get down onto pit road speed and then get into your box clean and get right back out on the track, there's a very good potential that you can go a lap down at the speeds everybody's running here.
That was interesting because the league admins put out like a special announcement during the day of the race, and they sometimes will give us little tidbits. We currently are now running with the current Xfinity Series cars. We used to run with the Legacy Xfinity cars, and incredibly, here at iRacing Superspeedway, these current Xfinity cars have an almost 10-second lap time difference to what the Legacy cars were able to run. So to your point, the speeds that they're carrying now, head and shoulders above what they were running before in the past.
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of that has to do with the aero side of it, though, too. As we go through the years, we always see these cars get more aero developments and make them a little bit more friendly to situations like the draft. So no surprise to kind of see it getting better and better, but big engine definitely doesn't help you here either.
So we might be drawing close to green flag pit stops. Also going to be interesting to see alliances that might take place. Obviously, we've got a number of teams here in the series. There's a team championship that'll be won at the checkered flag. The season finale is what a save by Joey Chapman, crossing all 4 lanes of traffic.
That was almost disaster, and Joey Chapman is gonna get very lucky there, not having to use another fast repair.
Then we had a little contact between Jacob Holm and Carl Faust. They're going to turn 1. There's actually front-end damage on the 12. I don't know if he was the one that might have gotten into the back of Joey Chapman or not, but how is that going to affect him aerodynamically for the rest of this run?
You can already see what it's doing to him aerodynamically. He's not going to be a guy that needs to be out front. He's going to want to be sandwiched up in the pack, or else that nose is just going to be all sorts of nasty effects from the aero coming over the top of that car.
You know, I always say one feature I wish that we had for these drivers is a heart rate monitor. Would have loved to have seen what the heart rate was for the 60 of Joey Chapman there. I mean, he nearly saved it the one time when he wrecked over in turn 2. This time, a big-time slide and save for him on the front straightaway, narrowly avoiding us our second caution.
Yeah, and something that we might want to keep an eye on, too, is as we get longer and longer into these runs and you know, these guys are out on older tires, it'll be a really interesting thought to see if, you know, guys are getting tight in the corners or if they're starting to get a little more loose. Tight, you're going to see a lot of guys maybe pushing up side by side next to somebody, but if you're loose, you're really going to have your hands full.
Got a couple of Camrys out in front right now, as it'll be Will Reichart showing the way out of the Ranger Racing team, and he's got the Chevrolet, number 64 of DJ Stagner out of Swamp Motorsports right behind him. Then behind them, you got the number 43 of John Peterson, who's out of John Peterson Racing. So right now you've got a Toyota, a Chevy, and a Ford all working together out of different organizations. But a lot of times, if you're not able to find your organization teammates or your technical alliances, your friends are where you find them. So right now, they're all just kind of on the agenda. Let's all ride in line. Let's see if we can keep this track position and then maybe settle it out here if we get to some green flag pit stops.
Yeah, I think if we have to come down and get tires and fuel, right, you want to be on that low lane. You don't want to be battling for position with a guy outside. You just want to have it be as clean as can be. And it's a lot more fun to battle it out on track instead of trying to force somebody into a mistake on pit road. So, you know, not surprising in the least to see guys kind of riding around on the bottom, but it's a little more surprising, I think, to see these guys too wide, this many rows deep, just going for it.
Last week, Matt Muir led the last lap at Talladega to pick up the victory. It's taken him about 25 laps to make his way up here to the front. He was trying to get the lead there from Connor Holden at the stripe. I don't think he quite got it. Holden actually clears down along with Andrew Siegel across the nose of Matt Muir, who will slot into the third spot. So Holden back to the point.
Yeah, and Andrew Siegel, Matt Muir, the guys that we saw last week do a really good job right back up there again. So don't want to say that it's too early based off of last week's finishes, but so far this season, both of those guys looking very strong.
How about Robert Kenny there, shooting the gap up the middle there in the number 10. The only driver who has won more than one race here in this series at iRacing Superspeedway. He's now made his way up into the top 10. Looks like he's going to go to the top side here and try and crack into the top 5, and he's doing it all by himself and still got some pretty good momentum. Now he'll have Joey Chapman up there for some assistance in the corner.
It's very impressive to see what he's able to do with that much damage on the front of that race car, but I think you're seeing a lot of guys know that he has the damage there, and they're trying not to really get stuck behind him because it's gonna make it that much harder to try and do something. As we see Connor Holden go for a block there, and
There they go. Carl Faust around off the nose of Sebastian Miller, and they're still wrecking. John Poole III is going to clip Cam Barnes. Looks like those three drivers are all going to slide down into the infield grass, and that may clear the track from anybody else being involved. Second caution of the night on lap 25, just nearing the halfway point. And again, another incident right up at the front of the field. Our first caution was around second place. This one was around maybe third or fourth. And Carl Faust.
Yeah, look at the stack up there.
Yeah.
A big run that just got thrown away. Ooh, and the 32 and the 7 get together there. But
Barnes trying to slow for the incident. John Poole III, a little contact.
Yeah, it's a big run for the 81 to block. It's worthwhile trying to do that early in the race, right? You don't want to wait until the last second to try and do that, but maybe just, put it in the memory bank. Maybe that one was a little too late, or maybe these runs are going to be way too aggressive to try and do something like that. So
This caution coming out will make things interesting in terms of fuel, because these drivers went about 18 laps there on that run from the restart to this most recent yellow. And we'll be getting the green flag somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe a little less than 30 laps to go, as Cam Barnes going to take a pretty good shot there with the left side into the inside wall, and I don't believe that is a safer barrier down there, so that's some pretty good contact that he made with the left front and the left side of his Chevrolet. The fact that we got away with it being really only a 4-car incident there with Faust, Miller, Poole, and Barnes is also in a testament to this racetrack. We talk about the space that there is to be able to race, but also the space that there is to avoid a wreck.
and when the wreck happens on the straightaway like that, it's a lot easier to try and avoid it. We saw what happened there in turn 2 on that first caution and how hard it is to avoid it. But on the straightaway, you have a lot better chance of getting through it. As we're seeing the race off of pit road here, it looks like Andrew Siegel is going to win it. But I think one of the more important things to maybe keep an eye on is Blake Trawick out behind the pace car. He did not come down pit road here where everybody else did.
Interesting. I wonder if maybe he's staying out for the lap-led bonus point, might come to pit road the following lap. And I just noticed this. We obviously know Blake Trawick. He's got the Cowmobile, but I just noticed that on the front of his car, it's not the Mustang, it's the Mustang.
Yeah, that Mustang looks pretty good sitting up there in the first place spot. And just a really unique car. I love the paint scheme on it, and that would look great on a t-shirt, to be honest with you.
Would. You're absolutely right. See what the strategy is for him. Does he stay out the entirety of this caution period and lead us to the upcoming restart? Or is this just a strategy call to get the bonus point for a lap lead, and then he'll come to pit lane? Looks like he is coming down pit road here, so he'll take the bonus point and lose the track position, but he's not going to be alone. Look at the massive cars that just were on pit lane. They're coming back down to top off again.
So I think an important thing to note here is we're going to go back racing about, I think, 33, 34 laps to go. I don't know what our fuel window is exactly, but maybe you can make it to the end from this point. So maybe Blake Trawick staying out gets that lead point like you're talking about, but then is able to make it to the finish.
Could be very, very close if we do not see another caution here tonight. Only working our second yellow flag of the evening here. And Andrew Siegel looks like he is going to be the one that will lead us back to green here in the Matt Muir Designs 165. Next time we'll see you here on Split Second Broadcasting on Twitch, and Flatout Racing Network on YouTube is going to be on Friday, February 23rd. We're going to be under the lights at the Daytona International Speedway for the third race of the season. That'll be with the start time at 8 p.m. 8:30, I should say, p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, off week next week, but then they'll be back at it at Daytona. First time we'll be at Daytona here this season. So we go from track just a little over 2.5 miles to the very lengthy 3-mile racetrack, and then we condense it down a little bit to 2.5 miles before we then go to the shortest track of the season at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So we're progressively shortening the track length.
Yeah, and Daytona, I think, is going to be a really interesting race when we get to it, because I believe I saw on the schedule that is a night to day race. So going to be running in the early morning hours on the sim, and seeing the sun come up instead of the sun go down. So really interesting to see what that does to these cars.
Track condition changes could play a huge factor in the closing stages of that one. Again, if you've never seen an UpperEdge Racing Baadteshop Superspeedway Series race and you're looking at this formation, the drivers that come to pit road at the 1 to green have to line up at the end of the longest line, which was the inside line with the drivers in the choose cone at the 1 to green. So only 2 drivers up there. Oh, we got a
Oh,
wreck in the back on the restart. Matt Muir is one of them. Can't make out who the other one is there.
wow. On the restart, too. We weren't even past pace speed, I don't think, back there.
Like a 2-car incident, including last week's winner, Matt Muir. Couldn't make out who that second car was. And I also noticed that Shane Terrian and Mike Tellier, they came racing through quite a ways after that incident. So it looked like some drivers might have had a rather lengthy stay on pit road and were in danger of not catching up in time when we went back green. Maybe a little stack up here with all these drivers lined up on the inside line.
Oh,
Ooh, Clint Spillman up there with Blake Trawick. Oh, maybe some tire spin there, some wheel spin from Matt Muir.
that'd be interesting to see that, unless Matt didn't take tires in that last pit stop. He went fuel only.
And that was Sean Billman, the 06, that got into the back of him. Watch the back end of the 72 here. Looks like maybe those rear tires spin a little bit there.
There's a lot of shuffling going on in that line, too. So I'm wondering if, that initial contact, I believe, that Ty Smith there who had the initial contact up front. Maybe some of those guys saw the tire smoke, checked up. Ooh, Matt Muir just got
Yep.
rear tires looked like they just lifted up there, but I'm wondering if that
I
initial
think he might have
contact spooked
checked
some
up.
people.
Yeah, when you saw right there the 83 of Sebastian Miller move low in front of him, I think he probably lifted off the gas. And obviously, as we saw there with that onboard, you can't see what's going on 2-3 cars up ahead of you with the stack ups or the checkups. And that's what led to the incident towards the back end of the field.
And that's got to be an unfortunate feeling, right? So it's one thing to wreck when you're going 200 miles an hour. It's another thing to have a fender bender like you're on the highway at 55, 60 miles an hour.
But what does this do now for the drivers that might have been right on the number or maybe just below the number of being able to make it on fuel? Now here's a couple extra pacing laps, maybe come back down pit road and topped off the fuel tank again. This may be the caution that no longer brings fuel strategy into question.
That is true, but if it still is in question, you want to make sure that you are on the positive side and by a good margin. If you run out of fuel in turn 1 or turn 2, there's no way you're making it back around to the stripe without losing all of your positions to everybody on track. So it's a dangerous game to play. I think for our entertainment and everybody watching, if this is still a fuel mileage race, I think it makes it a lot more fun. But these guys are going to put on a show regardless for us.
Might also be a little food for thought for these drivers for the remainder of the season. I know obviously you want that security blanket, that extra half lap or lap of fuel with topping off the fuel tank, but that was about the longest line we've seen as far as the end of longest line penalties on a restart. We saw one last week at Talladega, but it wasn't nearly that length with only 2 cars up on the outside line that we just saw. I wonder if there's kind of a 50-50 of, do you want that added security of fuel, or would you rather just put yourself on the inside or the outside line closer up to the front where you don't run into an issue like that with a potential stack up and risk damaging your car?
Yeah, I think if you're one of those guys that's up front and you see, you're probably going to want to stay up front. But if you're one of those guys maybe back in the pack, I think you got to play to the odds of us wrecking again, right? You go take that shortest line. So, having 2 cars started on the top side in that last restart was definitely a little bit eye-opening for me. I don't know if, any of these drivers are going to feel the same way about it, but I think I would definitely be looking at that a little bit closer.
Well, this caution brings some new faces up to the front of the field, names we haven't mentioned all night long so far. Last week's pole sitter, Robert Pankow, now going to share the outside of the front row with Cam Barnes. Our defending champion, Ryan Potter, now going to restart in the 3rd position. And I was waiting to see when the 6 of Chad Winstead was going to make his way to the front, led a race-high 13 laps last week. And I believe this is his first appearance inside the top 10, getting ready to restart in 8th place. So this might be the home stretch, and now these drivers who have kind of been riding mid-pack, rear of the field, preserving their equipment, are realizing, all right, it's go time at this point on.
I was going to say, if you're going to find somebody to model your strategy off of to wait until the right moment to go time, it's going to be Ryan Potter. We saw what he did last season, and this season he's proven to do just the same thing.
Cam Barnes, one of the rookie class drivers this season, going to be getting us back to green with Robert Pankow on his outside. Potter, and I believe that is the 76. Yes, it is. Jacob Holm on the outside of row 2, and then it's going to be Will Reichert, the 5th place driver. As we're back green, it will be 23 laps to go here at iRacing SS.
And look at these guys. Not as much fanning out as I would have expected to see here, but maybe going off into 3. Once these guys are getting all under full speed, we're going to see some battles for position as we see a move for the lead here.
It's like all 29 drivers are still running, all 29 on the lead lap, and no love for the defending champ. Ryan Potter gets put in the sucker hole, and he's going to fade back outside of the top 10 as they're lined up on the top side, organized on the bottom. And it's going to be Robert Pankow with a nice push there with Holm, Poteet, and Winstead down the back straightaway, who's going to lead them off of 4. First time today that Mobil 1 Toyota Camry has been out in front.
And there's a nice little run coming from that top side there. Only 2 cars up there, but you can see just how close they're getting to running even here as we see some help coming from the backside. Ryan Potter was in that sucker hole. Now he's back up there in the 3rd lane.
Dylan Poteet making a challenge there on that outside line. He's got the 6 of Winstead in tow. And right behind them, Ryan Potter has found his way back in line, trying to make his way back up into the top 5. Dylan Poteet, a former winner here at iRacing Superspeedway 1 season ago. As a matter of fact, it was the 2nd race that he was able to go back-to-back. He won it at Atlanta the week prior.
One through the grass and 3. He's dirt tracking it all the way around the apron. It looks like he's the only spin.
It's Clint Spillman in the number 88, and looks like Race Control is keeping it green as that was down and out of the way. Clint Spillman, been having a good day, was up in the top 10 just prior to the 2nd caution coming out. And now hoping that a yellow flag comes out, and there's a driver just up ahead of the leaders as well. I believe it might be Roberto Ramirez. I noticed he was some 50-odd seconds behind the field when we went back green. Not certain what the circumstances were there, but they're going to be catching him probably as soon as down here into turn 3.
And this might be one of your biggest allies if you're trying to race for the lead here. Use him to get up here, get yourself clear of everybody. Just like what Matt Rodriguez did there, Andrew Siegel goes with him as well. Use him to kind of get that draft, and then you can get by everybody.
Matthew Rodriguez, who spent most of the first half of this race trying to get drivers to go with him down on the apron, down below that yellow line, makes the pass for the lead right up against the wall. Dylan Poteet shows the nose there in the 3rd spot. Now he's going to actually push Andrew Siegel to the lead as Rodriguez looks like maybe he just wanted to get up there and lead that lap, and now he's going to fade back a bit. Steve Rada going to move up here into the 3rd spot, and JP3, the pole sitter, he's now back up in the top 5.
Yeah, we saw he had speed in qualifying, so no surprise to see him right back up here. As these guys are definitely getting very racy. They know we're coming to go time.
Dylan Poteet, a 2-time winner last season, maybe one of the strongest challengers against Ryan Potter for the championship. Andrew Siegel, you got to wonder what would have happened last year if he had run the full-time season. Currently up there in the top 10, and Robert Kenny, 2-time winner here at iRacing Superspeedway. He's the drafting buddy right now for the 31 in that middle lane.
Look at that 2-car tandem on the top side. You were just talking about how Poteet was a challenger to Ryan Potter. Ryan Potter didn't want to hear any of that. He's going to go out and take the outright lead.
Clears. Ooh, not
Oh,
quite.
we're
Oh,
wrecking.
wreck. Someone around there. I believe that was Peterson.
Oh, Carl Faust hard into the wall.
Chad Winstead with a big hit as well. There was a third driver that took a solid hit as well, I believe, into the outside wall. But Carl Faust, who started this race from the outside of the front row, all torn up there on the apron of 1 and 2.
Yeah, that was a very hard hit. You almost got your flip there, Seth, that we have been silently waiting for, but just a heavy hit to the outside wall for Carl Faust here. Look at this.
Oh, bad bump. Cam
Oh,
Barnes. Oh, look at the air that 6 took.
right in front of Chad Winstead. There's just nowhere to go.
Bronson Stafford on the brakes, able to avoid. Matthew Rodriguez got clipped. Went for a little half spin there in the grass. But we talked about the fact that these cars are unsteady going into the corner. Watch right here, the closing rate. Looked like Siegel was having to check up a bit there for Reichart in front of him, and then Cam Barnes, you had that little bit of a stack up there. He gets the 5 in the left rear, sends him down into Carl Faust, who then gets that big hit with the
Yeah,
6 of Chad Winstead.
this is one of those racetracks that, if you're a driver with a direct drive wheel, you want to let go in a wreck. But in Chad Winstead's case here, he doesn't even really see this happen until right there. Just no time to react, nowhere to go.
Blake Trawick had some contact in the right side of his car, and I'll tell you who had a heck of a job getting through that wreck was last week's winner, Matt Muir. He almost T-boned the 12 car on the apron, and he was just able to narrowly avoid him. Here it is, the onboard with the 72. Watch this as the cars come migrating down the banking of the racetrack, and he's just able to barely get low enough to avoid.
Oh, almost made contact with the 51 there as well. Maybe made a little bit. It's hard to tell, but it's just sometimes you get lucky, and luck gives you an opportunity to win these races.
Well, we had only 2 cautions in the first half of this race. We were talking optimistically about fuel strategy and pit strategy. We knew it was going to be too good to last with the options that are available to these drivers. Cautions breeding cautions as we draw closer to that checkered flag, and these drivers eyeing that prize as each lap ticks away.
Yeah, and that caution there, big help to Clint Spillman. We saw him go sliding through turn 3's infield grass there. And Roberto Ramirez also gets a good benefit from this. He actually gets the wave around and gets his lap back. So 2 guys that desperately needed it, they'll be really happy that that caution came out. We'll re-rack it again and see what happens.
Looks like Carl Faust right there was able to limp his machine back around to pit road, which is important in the fact that you actually don't lose as much time if you can get back to your pit stall than if you call a tow. Saw it looked like he was stalled out on the apron when we cut to our replays and was wondering if he wasn't going to be able to get back to his stall. He would, I would think, have to take on a faster pair of gear, as would Winstead. Not certain if they've already used one or not. I don't believe Winstead did. I know that Carl Faust had that front end damage in the early going. Don't know if he repaired that beforehand or not. But some choices having to be made there for those drivers as we're going to get this restart somewhere close to 15 to go. And bear in mind, we show you 55 laps on the top left. That's regulation laps. We also have unlimited green-white checkers should they be needed. So the 55 lap is just a guideline at the moment. It is not the set-in-stone checkered flag waving.
Yeah, and, for guys like Chad Winstead and Carl Faust, who right now I'm showing 1 lap down, they're not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sure that we will more than likely have another wreck. So maybe even 2, and like you're saying with the unlimited green-white checkers, there's plenty of opportunity to get those laps back and still be contending for this win, so nobody's out of it yet.
You saw both those drivers there catching back up to the tail end of the field. You could easily tell visibly they both have taken faster pairs on, so I would assume they both still have one more in the bank here for these final 15 laps. We'll have to wait and see, as it'll be Will Reichart who's going to be the one to get us back to green, electing the inside line. John Poole the third. The pole sitter will be to his outside with Dylan Poteet, Robert Pankow, and Steve Rada, the top 5 as we go back green. Saw that onboard right there from the back bumper of Reichart looking at Dylan Poteet. Look at the camber on that car. Or is that just the banking of this front straightaway? It looks like that left front is pretty well into, almost the left side splitter is well into the pavement.
Yeah, that's going to be part of the banking on this track here. There's a very aggressive banking. As we look here, we're going into 3. Camera shot sitting at the top of turn 3, and you can just see how much banking is in this track with how much that wall twists. But these guys need a lot. When that car loads up on the right side, you do not want it slamming the splitter down. So a lot of camber, putting that left front as close as you can to the ground and that right front up in the air as much as possible.
15 laps to go in regulation, getting ready to go back green. Will Reichart trying to become the first rookie to go to victory lane here in Season 5 of the UpperEdge Racing Baadteshop Superspeedway Series. He'll lead them down here into the restart zone. And the flagman has the green flag in his hand. It is waving. We're back underway. Let's see how long it's going to be before they get anxious to the 3 and 4 wide racing we've seen all day long.
I don't think it'll be very long, as we saw some big hits on that inside. Will Reichart didn't get the jump I think he was looking for, and that's why we're seeing this tight 2-wide battle here going off into turn 1.
Stacking up in that second lane. Poole back to Pankow, back to Potter, back to Kenny. Now they'll fan out here on the back straightaway. Connor Holden in the 81 down in the apron. Looks like he's dropping to the back, and here we go. There's the second lane. There's the third lane. How about there up on the top side? That's Andrew Siegel and Matthew Rodriguez. A little, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. We saw Siegel push Rodriguez to the lead earlier. Now Rodriguez trying to repay the favor.
Yeah, and Ryan Potter jumped in front of them. He saw they were moving forward. He wanted to go along as well. And the 10 there is now in front of them. Robert Kenny, he's going to go and say, push me up to the front.
You see these drivers, they're seeing those runs there on the top line, moving up to try and get the benefit of it. That's something else that we're going to have to kind of squirrel away for when we get to the closing stages of this race. The ability to be able to generate runs and the speed differences that we see on the straightaway with just 2 cars tandeming together, it's going to be a heck of a job for whoever is the leader on that final lap to be throwing the blocks necessary to keep the race lead to get the checkered flag.
I was going to say, and look at the 64 DJ Stagner there. He made some very big moves, got a massive run up to the tail end of Jacob Halm, and he is now sitting that 5th car on the inside lane. Not a lot of place to go there now, but he's definitely moving and trying to get to the front.
DJ Stagner, a former winner at this racetrack, the most recent winner at this racetrack, as a matter of fact, back in Season 4, and he's been a threat. Not only this week, but last week as well in the season opener. As at the front, Clint Spillman. Yep, the same driver that we saw spinning through the infield grass over in 3 and 4 prior to the last caution. He's now up top side going for the race lead.
Yeah, he's going to battle it out for Will Reichart, though, as he gets a little loose out of 2 there. But he's going to stay side by side with him. A lot of help coming from Andy Siegel in that second row.
A lot of movement mid-pack there. DJ Stagner moving from the middle lane down to the inside line. Spillman going to get kicked up there to what I thought was going to be the 3rd lane. Now it's the 4th lane as Kenny, Rodriguez, and Holden will blow by him. Running that top line 3 wide, about 3 rows deep from 3rd place on back.
Yeah, and I got to give some credit to this low line. They're committed to holding that yellow line all the way around the racetrack, whereas we're seeing a lot of guys come and go on the top side. And so far, Will Reichart, Dylan Poteet, and Steve Rada, I believe, is that 3rd car in line on the bottom there. All 3 of those guys are committed and have not gone anywhere.
Keep an eye on that inside line because you see Dylan Poteet giving some space to the car in front of him, Reichart. Steve Rada in 3rd on that inside line, giving space to Dylan Poteet. You mentioned earlier about drivers talking about the potentiality of overheating If you give that little bit of space, you can still keep the inside line momentum going, but you don't run the danger of your temperature spiking. It's the tandemings with bumper to bumper and no space between is when you have to start worrying about that engine and water temperature spiking.
For sure, and Dylan Poteet is a master, too, of trying to set up his runs and learning as much as he can in this last little bit of the race. That way, when it comes down to the white flag lap, he knows exactly how he has to execute to go and take the lead. So riding second there, he might give a little gap to get some clean air, but
How
he's
about
going to go
four
up there
wide?
and push.
4 wide, 2 rows deep. Rodriguez and Holden were the third lane. Robert Kenny and Mike Tellier muscled their way through, and Kenny might get the race lead here down to 3, depending on how much momentum just those 2 cars alone can have. Here comes Siegel back up in the second lane. It's like highway traffic here at iRacing Superspeedway. Stack them up, 4 wide, 4 rows deep.
This looks like we're driving through the middle of LA just at 200 miles an hour. Nobody is able to go anywhere, and each lane is just side by side as close as they can get.
10 laps to go, and it is driver number 10 who goes to the point for the first time today, being pushed there by Mike Tellier, who'll now slot down to the second lane in front of Andrew Siegel. Here comes the third lane, DJ Stagner with a push from Clint Spillman.
And look at Will Reichard there in the second position. He does not want to be sitting in second. He's going to go try and take this lead back as we go down into the backstretch.
The movement of these cars back and forth there, wheeling it down the long back straightaway.
Ooh, 4 wide.
Sail it into turn 3. It's like Reichard got shuffled out. Now Spillman gets shuffled up a lane. Everybody trying to get back organized again. Back to 3 wide from about 9th place on back. Did I just see the 61 of Bronson Stafford scrape the wall back there off of turn 4?
Potentially. I missed that one because I just cannot take my eyes off of this lead pack right now. These guys are battling it out. You can tell the intensity is ramping up because a lot of guys are starting to slide up a little bit off of that low lane in the corner. So they're starting to slide around as this run progresses.
Mike Tellier falling back there after he had pushed the 10 of Robert Kenny up to the front. Got to wonder if maybe he's falling back to cool off the engine. Kenny now has a new drafting partner in Reichart. Inside line, DJ Stagner and Dylan Poteet working together. And, ooh, man, close clear there. But the 10 of Robert Kenny going to go down to that yellow line. He'll clear for the top position.
Want to control these lanes as best as you can, but you don't want to have what happened to Connor Holden, and you make a move either too early or too late, as we see Poteet now going for below the yellow line to try and get the lead.
And he cleared the 10 by the time they get over here to turn 1. Trying to force his way back up there. Nobody went down there with him. Looks like Steve Rada going to let him back in line behind Kenny. Top 4 on that inside line now going to pull away. And I'm keeping an eye towards the rear end of the field here because I've seen this combination before at this racetrack. Shane Tyrion and Bronson Stafford are just riding at the tail end of this pack. I've seen these two tandem before and slice through the field like butter. I think they're planning that strategy here. They might be going now.
I was going to say, right as you said that, they are making a hard charge. As we have a wreck in the middle.
Tyrion gets spun off the nose of Stafford, but they wrecked up ahead of them. Jacob Halm was involved. Looks like the 43 of John Peterson was collected. And caution will fly with less than 10 to go.
And you could feel that something like that was going to happen here soon. We had a lot of guys starting to make moves to the inside. You called the tandem there. That was starting to come up towards through the field as well. So a lot of guys knew with pay window open, they went to go cash their checks then.
Yeah, we saw the contact there live with Stafford into the back of Tyrion. But I assume that's in reaction to what was happening up ahead here. Let's focus on the 76 of Jacob Halm. Oh, Matt Muir and Mike Tellier, they tried making the move down below the yellow line here on the back straightaway, and they might not have been clear when they came back up into the entrance of turn 3. Muir trying to get up there. Oh, yep, that transition, that flat apron to the banking to the entrance of the corner, shoots him up into Peterson. Clint Spillman, Chad Winstead collected up as well, and you saw it right side of your screen. The 9 of Shane Tyrion, after he got that bump with the checkup from Stafford, did a great job of keeping that thing underneath him and not wrecking the thing.
Yeah, and maybe you can help enlighten me and the rest of the viewers here on this one. So we saw Matt Muir go down, make that move below the yellow line. These guys that are up here on the racing surface, though, they don't have to let him back in. It's Matt Muir's discretion to get back in a safe way, correct?
Correct. It is enter that area of the racetrack at your own risk. The other drivers do not have to give you the space to come back up. You better hope you clear the car you're trying to pass before they enter that corner, or else you're the one that pretty much has to surrender the spot.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate to see it happen, but we kind of knew something like that was going to happen eventually. I think one important thing to note, though, is as we're riding along here with Shane Therian, you can see just how the banking goes up from the apron. If we go to tracks like Daytona or Talladega, there's a little bit of a progressiveness there that you can kind of use to help keep your car from just absolutely getting loose or tight in that situation. Here at iRacing Superspeedway, you don't have that luxury.
Not at all. I believe at iRacing Superspeedway, it is the banking in the corners, 36 degrees. And you see right there, that stark contrast from the flat apron to just the inside banking there to the right side of the yellow line, just shoots the car up the racetrack. I mean, we see it even when they just normally go into a corner, how the car pushes up with the speed that they're carrying. And unfortunately for Matt Muir, was not clear. Was in a 4-wide situation, clipped the 76 of Jacob Holm, which I'd be a little bit concerned for Holm right now because that was another big shot that he took, and he took a big hit in the first caution. I don't know if he's got any more faster pairs to be able to work with here in the closing stages.
I don't think he does, so if that's the case, then he's going to have to be extra careful, but you're going to have to go out there and just get it. And I mean, we're down to 5 laps to go, about to be 4 laps to go next time by, I believe. So you're going to have to just kind of let it all hang out there if you want to try and get a checkered flag if you're Jacob Holm.
And now kind of the question mark for drivers that may have been sporting a little bit of damage here for these last couple of runs. We're down into the closing stages of this race. If you're running up at the front, you probably don't want to give up that track position, but if you're running towards the rear of the field and you still have both of your faster pairs, do you come down pit road, maybe take one on right now, or are you still preserving those 2 faster pairs based on the fact that we still might have a couple of green-white checkers yet to run?
You know, I think of the faster pairs right now as like having extra sets of tires in your box. If you got damage and you have a faster pair that you can go use, you want to go ahead and use it now. Because if you're not going to use it, you're going to be thinking to yourself, man, maybe if I would have gone down pit road, gotten that faster pair, maybe I would have gotten 5 bonus positions on track, or maybe I wouldn't have been caught up in a mess there and have assumed the lead instead of being collected here and now having to take it anyway.
Well, July of last year, EJ Stagner started from the 14th position, led 10 laps, and went to victory lane at the last time that these drivers ran iRacing Superspeedway. Closing in on 4 laps to go, he is out in front looking for his first win here of Season 5. He ended up last week finishing, I believe it was down in the latter portion of the top 15. And here tonight, looking to gain back those points that he lost last week after he had a strong performance in the first 2/3 of that race. He's going to have Reichardt to his outside. Connor Holden, who's been fast tonight, lines up in 3rd. Robert Kenny, 2-time winner at this racetrack, on the outside of row 2. Back to green we go. 4 laps in regulation remain.
Look at the restart there by DJ and Connor Holden. 2 teammates at Swamp Motorsports timed it perfectly, and they're going to control both lanes here, it looks like, or at least try to.
Reichardt makes the dive from the middle to the inside line in front of Andrew Siegel. Look at the top line. Blake Trawick and Dylan Pote, couple of Ford Mustangs hooked up there. Looks like they've also got Roberto Ramirez with them in the 42. That's the beauty of this series, is you can't count anybody out until the very end of this race. Roberto Ramirez got the free pass under the last caution, and now he's up here in the top 10, knocking on the door of the top 5.
Yeah, and as a driver, that's got to feel great. You know you have an opportunity to win this, but you're going to need some friends if you want to get up to the front here.
Will be 3 to go this time by, as we're 3 wide for the lead. Holden on the bottom, Stagner in the middle. Trawick might be clear there on the top side. He is here from our aerial shot, but he's going to stay committed to his pusher, Dylan Poteet. Then it's Roberto Ramirez, and then right behind him, I believe that is the machine of Ty Smith, who, yeah, you're not seeing double. There are 231 cars. There was a bit of a mix-up on the TGA of Ty Smith's machine, but Smith for the first time up here. The top 10 is the 67
Ooh.
Reichardt with a big save.
Pay window is open, and these guys know it. They're trying to cash their checks now. But we're 5 wide there back in the pack. Almost a wreck out of it.
Ooh, near contact there between Robert Panko and Ty Smith. We've gotten to the point now in the driver mentality, you bring home the trophy or you bring home the steering wheel. They'll have 6 more miles to come around to receive the white flag and potentially end this race in regulation. But with the way they're racing right now, that doesn't look like the odds are in favor of it.
If we get around 6 more miles without a caution, it'll be a miracle. But right now, as a driver, you've got to be figuring out where to go, trying to get up here to take this lead if you want the checkered flag.
Hunter Holden out in front, looking for a little redemption from last week. Had a strong performance, but brought it home outside of the top 15. Comes into this race 22nd in points, 74 points out. Seems like a lot after only running 1 race, but the point system in this series is very unorthodox, and you can easily shoot from the top 20 up to the top of the point standings. And Holden's trying to do that. Looks like, Adam, we're actually going to get back to the white flag as we're 5 wide crossing the stripe.
Yeah, we're all over. We're wrecking. It looks like Bronson Stafford down on the inside there. Is it a single car spin? Maybe 2 cars as we're going around. And then looking up at the top here in the front, we have Poteet, Ty Smith, the double cars running the exact same line, trying to get up there and take the lead.
Can they get enough of a run? That middle line there with Trawick. Oh, Roberto Ramirez tries to block it, and we got a big wreck on the back straightaway. Nobody's going to lift as they see positions and points. Sam Dyer with a big hit, but at the front it's Trawick versus Holden going into 3.
I wouldn't count out Ryan Potter, 3rd in that 2nd lane. He's up there. He has an opportunity to come steal this from everybody.
Gonna be a photo finish, I feel like, here at iRacing Superspeedway. Here comes Kenny on the bottom with a push from Tellier. As to the stripe, Trawick edges ahead, and he will win by maybe about, I don't know, maybe a foot, maybe 2 over Connor Holden. The Mustang is going to victory lane tonight at iRacing Superspeedway.
That absolutely needs to go on a shirt now. That is a great moment as we're wrecking here at the finish. A lot of guys getting caught up in that, including our race winner.
A lot of drivers wrecking off of turn 2, as you saw right there. Matt Muir, last week's winner, in the same camera shot as this week's winner, Blake Trawick, who last week had a great run in the season opener, finished 6th and comes into this race 6th in overall points. Could very well be the points leader and the race winner here tonight in one tidy package, heading into our off week in preparation for Daytona in 2 weeks' time, as Trap House Racing gets their first win on the season with driver 56.
Yeah, and winners get waffles over at Trap House, so it's going to be a party tonight as Blake Trawick gets it done. And a lot of help there from his teammate Dylan Poteet. You see finished in 3rd, it looked like, as well.
Look at the suspension damage. That thing is yawing to the left, but he's going to have enough wheel in it to be able to bring it to the start-finish line and hopefully be able to turn that thing to the right for some burnouts indeed, as he'll celebrate here tonight. Blake Trawick, your winner in the Matt Muir Designs 165.
Yeah. Great race overall by these guys. And just a stunning finish at the end as we see Matt Rodriguez come in during the donuts. A little congratulatory bump. And the 32 there just as well, giving a little congratulatory bump. These cars, it's go ahead and get some battle scars on them because this was one heck of a race.
Blake Trawick with the victory here tonight. See the celebration and the drivers coming by giving their congratulations. Let's go back and show you what happened here. Now, the wreck that we had with Bronson Stafford occurred after the leader had crossed the start finish line, so we were past the point of an overtime green-white checkered. That's a tough break there for Bronson Stafford because he came into this race second in overall points after the runner-up finish last week. There was another driver that spun as well in the closing stage of that one, and then of course there was probably a good dozen drivers that were in that wreck on the back straightaway. But at that point in time, you can't lift. You got to put it to the floor, keep an eye on where the cars are moving, and hope that there's going to be a gap when you get to that point.
Yeah, so we're looking there at Bronson Stafford. Surprisingly, just a single car incident, maybe a couple other pieces of contact, but didn't really collect anybody too bad. But like you're saying, a strong performance last week, and wrecking there, coming across after the white flag is just a little heartbreaking for Bronson Stafford.
Looked like he might have clipped the left rear of somebody else there. Might have potentially been Joey Chapman. And we had, because I believe we had another car that spun down to the inside of turn one after Stafford's spin.
Yeah,
Yep,
Joey
there it is right
Chapman gets
there.
caught up in that. Tough night for Joey Chapman. We saw him get involved in that first wreck and then drives it right back up to the front. And just luck not on his side tonight.
Well, this shows you that iRacing Superspeedway doesn't play any favorites because right there, those two drivers spinning, former winners in this series at this very racetrack. And both of them not getting the finishes they were looking for here tonight in our second race of the season. We're going to be showing you next the incident over on the back straightaway. And it just, again, we were talking about it earlier, the ability to block those huge runs. And I think it was the 67 of Reichardt that actually made the block up there on the middle line and just wasn't clear. Watch there. I'm sorry, actually, that was actually Roberto Ramirez that tried to make the block. And here you see the end result.
Yeah, a lot of chaos. You see a lot of
Wow.
guys still coming in full speed. And
67 got wiped out not once but twice.
yeah, but like you're saying, it's go time. You got to keep your foot in it, and just whatever happens, happens. It's tough when that happens though in front of you, and you get collected. And a good night might turn into a horrible night for you.
Andrew Siegel collected up in this one, so
Ooh,
that's two of our top three in points involved in incidents here on the last lap. Another
yeah.
big hit there to the inside wall after the couple of shots that he took.
Sam
For,
Dyer got into him really hard there. Got him spinning like a top originally. And then iRacing gave him a little bit of netcode, a little bit of forgiveness on that second hit. But that inside wall just was another painful one.
Here's a look at it again, and take a look at a couple of the drivers that were able to sneak through. One of them, Ryan Potter. This is how he won the championship last season. Not only able to be consistent, but be in the right place at the right time in the closing stages when the calamity strikes to sneak on through and get himself a good finish.
Yeah, and you don't have to come out here and be the strong guy every night. Sometimes, especially in these super speedway races, you just take it nice and easy and you'll find yourself up front when it matters the most.
Here's on board with Ryan Potter. I mean, look at the lack of visibility up ahead. You don't know if something might happen. A couple cars ahead of you, but right place, right time up there on that outside line and was able to bring it home. I believe inside of the top 10, maybe even the top 5 here. As
Yeah, it
we'll
looks like
be
Ryan Potter finishes 5th on the night, so good
so
top 5 finish for him.
another solid, consistent outing for him off the heels of his 8th place run last week at Daytona.
Well, let's go ahead and I said let's pull up Blake Trawick here. Let's talk to our winner tonight because I'm sure he's got to be feeling something special right now.
Absolutely. We'll see if we can dial up the driver, the number 56, Blake. It's Adam and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Well, a wild one here tonight. We kind of knew going in that it was going to be crazy. We saw 3 wide, we saw 4 wide, we saw 5 wide here this evening. But a lot of drivers looked like they had very strong machines and were consistently up at the front. This number 56 was one of them. How were you able to, first off, make that move on the back straightaway and then keep everybody in your rearview mirror there coming down to the checkered flag?
It was a team effort for that win. Dylan messaged me before the restart, letting me know that no matter what, he was pushing me to the end. So all that mattered was trying to stay connected to his front bumper and try to get at least to the high line. Because you could lose a little bit of momentum on the entrance, but on the outside, like out of the runs, I'm getting tongue-tied here. Out of the corners, you get a hell of a run on the outside here. So my main goal is to stick with the 31 there and see what we could do. Little bit worried at the end there when we got separated for a second, but it still played in our favor.
Hey Blake, it's Adam. I just gotta ask you, we saw 2 cars out there, the exact same paint scheme that Dylan Poteet was running. So at the end there, we're seeing them 2 wide behind you. Do you know which one to go with there? You know who your friend was behind you, or you just hoping you had the right one going off into 3?
It got confusing earlier in the race, but I watched my F3 to make sure I was pulled up in front of the right one because I knew one would go with me and one probably wouldn't. So I had to make sure I picked the right one.
Last week at Talladega, we saw you bring it home in the 6th position. Here tonight with the victory, certainly got to put you in the category in the early going of the season as one of the favorites to win the championship. How about this start to the year? How does that boost the confidence in preparation for Daytona in 2 weeks?
I will just ride the high for now because you never know what happens with these races. I mean, you could win the first 3 or 5 and be leaving on the record for the rest of the season. So we're gonna take what we get right now, hope for the best, and see how it pans out at the very end.
Now, Blake, I've heard.
Finish here. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Blake, I've heard winners get waffles at Trap House. So I gotta ask you real quick, what waffles are we getting here tonight for a great win at iRacing Superspeedway?
I'm a little bored. I like my plain one, so I'm good at playing.
Well, Blake, a great run for you here tonight. A great start to the season there. Not exactly certain if there's a difference between the Mustang nose and the Mustang nose, but the Mustang nose edged out here tonight to pick you up that victory. Congratulations on a job well done, being there at the end. Before we let you get back to your celebration, though, we're going to give the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Well, give it a little tidbit there. The Mustang definitely knows how to move through the field, so it might have a little bit of an edge there. But I got a shout out to S&G Graphics for paint schemes, Trap House, of course, for the team. You guys in the broadcast booth here and everybody watching, it's great.
Blake Trawick is your winner here tonight in the Matt Muir Designs 165 at iRacing Superspeedway. Congratulations once again, Blake. Looking forward to in 2 weeks' time seeing if the consistency continues for you, as this will certainly have you in a good spot, maybe even the leader heading into that one.
Thank you.
All right.
We have our second place finisher on standby here. Connor Holden. Connor, it's Adam and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
I got you loud and clear.
I'll tell you what, back-to-back weeks, you have had a very strong Chevrolet Camaro, been up at the front at Talladega, up at the front late here in the closing stages of iRacing Superspeedway. You're leading that inside line, letting everything in the second and third and even at times fourth line occur on that back straightaway. But off turn 4, you've got the 56 to your outside. Is there anything in that position you're able to do, or are you just committed to that yellow line and hoping the guy behind you gives you the push necessary to have your nose be the first one back to the stripe?
Well, I feel like off of 2, when DJ gave me the push, it just lifted the car. I mean, I had no control over it. At that point, we lost so much time getting into 3, and at that point they had such a run, and there was nothing I could do to hold them off. So, good job on Blake and Dylan's part to get there and beat us at the line.
Hey Connor, it's Adam. I wanted to ask you, because we saw how committed you were to that inside line. Did you ever have a thought as we were getting into those closing laps there, maybe trying to go to the outside where you would have had an opportunity to make some more moves if need be?
Well, Everywhere else probably. Here, the arc into the corners, you get such a run on the bottom, and I mean, you can pull off the corner almost. It just didn't work this time getting into 3, and like I said, it's another loss, and we gonna get there one day.
Yeah, Connor, we talked about the fact that last week you had a strong machine, led 10 laps, but didn't get the finish that indicated just how strong a car you had. How important was it here for you tonight? How much pressure was there to get this decent run here this evening, get back the points that you lost in the opener?
It's super important that we needed another good run, and we got it. It's just I wish I've been doing this for 2-3 years now, and I still haven't got that win. So I'm ready to get the monkey off the back and get it done. I put myself in spots. If I keep putting myself into a spot, the wins are gonna come. It's just gotta bide my time for a little bit, I guess. But it was a great points night.
A great points night and a great performance for you here this evening. We may only have to wait 2 weeks for Daytona to see this 81 in victory lane, but congratulations on the podium finish here this evening, Connor. Before we let you go, we'll give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
All right, so shout out to everybody at Swamp Motorsports. That'd be DJ Stagner, Ryan Potter, and always the great Ty Smith. Last night I didn't get to thank him in the Highline Racing League. So thank you, Dylan Body, for making me another great race car. Thank you, Holden Wieners, and thank you, Smith Tank and Steel, and everybody that's on our race cars, and we appreciate every single one of them.
Connor Holden brings it home in the second position here tonight in a fingernail-biting photo finish at iRacing Superspeedway. He'll look for that one position better at Daytona in 2 weeks' time. But for now, congratulations on the great performance, Connor.
All right, thank y'all.
And it's now time to dial up the driver that brings it home in the third position, maybe the difference maker into who won the race here tonight. See if we can dial up Dylan Poteet. Dylan, it's Adam and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I'm here somehow, some way, but I'm here.
I feel like I need to pull an M&M and ask, will the real 31 car please stand up? Because we had 2 of them up at the front in the closing stages of this one. But we talked just moments ago with Blake Trawick down in victory lane, and he gave you a ton of the credit with the push on the back straightaway and through 3 and 4 down to the stripe. He said you guys had that communication that you were going to help him to try and win this race. But how difficult was it? Because we saw you kind of get shuffled on the back straightaway up to that third lane.
Uh, well, I'll be 100% honest. We were still talking about the contact with me and Roberto, and I still have no idea how I didn't wreck and I didn't get damage from the deal. I don't even know if I even lost any speed, and somehow I was able to get right back to Blake's bumper, and then it was just kind of a drag race between us two, and then Connor and DJ on the bottom. So, and I told him since last season he helped me win Atlanta, and he also helped me win this race last season. So, and he ended up actually wrecking, I think, in the deal, trying to help me win. And I told him I owed him a win for sure, and that was the plan. I told him under yellow, I said, wherever you go, I'm following your car and getting you to victory lane. And somehow, some way, even after that close scare, we were able to make it work. And I'm happy for Blake. I'm glad he got the win. He's been up here competing for a lot of victories since he started racing here in Power Team Trap House. So I think this was his first win here with us, and we're really proud of him. And he ran a heck of a race, and just happy that we were both able to somewhat salvaged it right there. We had a couple of destroyed cars celebrating, but all in all, it was good to see him win, and I'm happy with the third place as well, obviously. So it was a good night overall for the team.
Hey, Poteet, it's Adam. So you got yourself a third place win. You've got the winner tonight and Blake, your teammate, in front of you. How do you take that momentum over at Trap House, go into this off week, and then try to bring it back at Daytona in 2 weeks and go out here and try and get another checkered flag for you guys?
I mean, we'll just try to be placing ourselves, I guess, in the right place again. Just it's just all about that. We just happened to be up there at the right time, and we didn't really see each other a lot throughout the race. I mean, I saw him a couple of times go through the field and move up, and then I was up there for a bit, and I kind of dropped back. But just kind of like I saw him the run before on the outside, and he just kind of was able to slot in front of me there, and we lined up together. So it's going to be key, I think, trying to be around each other and just avoid wrecks, because we were very fortunate tonight. We didn't have to use a fast repair or anything. We were able to kind of have that in our back pocket. So just try to stay together with the team, all of us, if we can, and try to survive to the end. It's just how it really is every week. We were lucky we had a lot of space here. It was the iRacing Superspeedway track. Daytona's a whole different animal with it being such tighter racing and stuff. I mean, that's all we've done this week in every other league that's came back. So I've had plenty of practice with Daytona and what to expect, I guess. But all we can really hope for is just to be lined up nose to tail again, and may need some luck, and hope the stars align again. Maybe we can get us back to back in victory lane with one of us or one of our other teammates.
You talk about last season, you and Trewick, roles reversed, and you going to victory lane for what was going to be then your second time in victory lane. You the main competitor against Ryan Potter in that season finale with the championship on the line. Now we're coming back to this racetrack 2 more times, race 7 and then the finale at race number 9. So, with the team chemistry you guys were able to work out here, what does that do for the confidence level if you're going to be back in the championship conversation at the end of the season, and the ability to maybe be able to close out the deal that one position better?
I mean, I don't really have a lack of confidence with the super speedway stuff. I feel like I've made a lot of daring moves that a lot of people probably don't like, but I just try to be strategic about it. And I want to say I know what I'm doing, but I also did wreck somebody last night at the last lap, so I also can't really say that. But I mean, I'm not going into this like it's do or die or anything like that. I'm kind of have a different aspect on it this season. I mean, if I'm in contention for it, that's good. But if I'm not, then I'm just out here trying to win races or do the best I can. So, I mean, we'll see. I really like this track. The only big factor that's different from last season when we were in the Xfinity car, I feel like we were big time overheating and it was hard to cool it down tonight. And that was a big factor because I was blinking water and oil, taking the white, and I didn't even know if I was going to make it back. I was going to shove Blake until it blew up. It kind of got a little bit of a break there when we had that checkup and I got shuffled there. But, I mean, I got a little bit of an idea what we need to do. And like I said, it all comes down to a lot of luck factor, who you're around and who you got helping you and stuff, because you may end up with the wrong people that you may have not worked with all night. And you just kind of have to just hope for the best, that you can find your friends and your teammates, and just hope the rest is history and you can work your way to the front and try to win one of these. So I've been pretty fortunate here at this track particular. I'm hoping to carry it over and maybe we can get back to victory lane here. It'd be nice.
Well, 11th place last week in the season opener, 3rd place here tonight at iRacing Superspeedway. Certainly going to jump you up in the point standings. Going to be interesting to see where it does position you in preparation for the upcoming off week before you then, guys, turn your sights towards Daytona. Congratulations on the great run here tonight. You've been up here before. You know the drill. We're going to give the opportunity to thank some sponsors, do some shout-outs.
Shout out everybody at Team Trap House, Dylan, with the new paints this season. He wasn't able to race, unfortunately, tonight, but he was watching, so hope he's happy about the victory and the 3rd place finish for the Trap House, and waffles for everybody. And thanks everybody who watched, and thank you guys for putting on the broadcast as always here, UpperEdge and FRN, everything. And thank you guys for broadcasting, and everybody's watching. Thank you, and I guess we'll see you guys after the real life NASCAR stuff, and we'll be back 2 weeks. And yeah, should be fun. Can't wait to see you guys back at Daytona.
Indeed. That's Dylan Poteet. He caps off the podium here tonight, brings it home 3rd at iRacing Superspeedway. Good momentum heading into our next race at Daytona International Speedway. Congratulations on the great run here, Dylan, and best of luck here for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
The one thing I love, Adam, about super speedway racing is you can never predict what's going to happen. Blake Trewick, in the first 2 races this season, 1 top 5 with the victory and 2 top 10s. That's all he had in 9 starts last year, was the 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s, and he's been able to match the statistics in only 2 races this season. A driver that was inside of the top 10, I think he was 9th in the final standings last year. Now, 1 season later, he's in the conversation maybe for the championship.
That's true, but it is a long season still to go. And like you said, we got to come back here 2 more times. So it's good to see him here for the first win, but want to make sure that, you keep the momentum going for the rest of the season when we come back here for the championship.
great race here tonight, a good showcase for what we'll be seeing later on this year. This particular racetrack going to be 2 of the last 3 races of the season, including where the championship is decided. Let's fast forward in 2 weeks' time to Daytona. You touched on it already. We're going to be going from the nighttime to the daytime, complete polar opposite of what we've seen before with the day to night transition at Daytona. How are drivers going to have to take that into account with how they race?
Yeah, so you're going to have a lot cooler temperatures at Daytona, which is going to do wonders for you having grip around that racetrack. But one of the things that I would be most interested in paying attention to are those morning hours. Just as the sun starts to come up, the track is probably going to heat up really quick. So who can adapt to that the fastest? And also, who can battle the sun going around the track? There's going to be some inopportune times to just go off into a corner and maybe you're looking right into the sun.
Gonna be interesting to see what these drivers will have to do strategy-wise in that race. We've already had back-to-back weeks where it's come down to last lap shenanigans, if you will. Matt Muir getting the victory last week, Blake Trawick getting the victory this week. Both first-time winners here in the UpperEdge Racing Baadteshop Superspeedways. Could we see a third first-time winner in 2 weeks' time at Daytona? You'll have to join us and find out, but we appreciate you tuning into our coverage of the Matt Muir Designs 165 here at iRacing Superspeedway. Thank you for joining us on Split Second Broadcasting on Twitch, Flatout Racing Network here on YouTube. A big thank you to our producer, Jeff Johnson, and Adam. A great race here tonight. Cannot wait to continue this season with you.
Yeah, I can't wait for 2 weeks at Daytona. Hope everybody joins us there watching live. And hopefully we have just as good of a show as we've put on these first 2 weeks.
Absolutely. So mark your calendars. February 23rd is next Friday night. We'll be here for the UpperEdge Racing Baadteshop Superspeedway Series at Daytona. Adam Bossy, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys then. Have a great night, everybody.